Fame has always looked like wealth from the outside. The red carpets, the mansions, the private jets, the flashing cameras. But behind the glamour, some celebrities discovered a secret Hollywood rarely talked about. The biggest fortunes weren't always made on screen or on stage. They were built through ownership. A tequila brand became a billion-dollar business. Headphones became a technology empire. A reality star built a company worth billions. And musicians discovered that their greatest asset wasn't fame at all, but control over what they created. These are 10 celebrities who turned public attention into serious business power. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll see why the smartest stars didn't just become famous, they learned how to make their fame work for them. Jessica Alba was already a familiar face in Hollywood when she made a decision that would change the way people looked at her career. She stepped away from simply being an actress and entered the world of consumer business. In 2012, Alba co-founded The Honest Company, a brand built around baby, personal care, and household products. The idea came from concerns she had about products used in her own family, but turning that concern into a successful company was another matter entirely. Hollywood fame might get people to notice a product, but it cannot force customers to keep buying it. Alba had to learn a completely different game: branding, manufacturing, distribution, investors, and public scrutiny. The Honest Company eventually became a publicly traded company in 2021. For Alba, the achievement wasn't just about becoming a celebrity entrepreneur. It was about proving that a famous name could evolve into a genuine consumer brand. But behind the glamorous headlines was a difficult reality. Building a company means dealing with mistakes, competition, financial pressure, and expectations that never stop. Alba's journey showed that celebrity can open the door, but it cannot build the entire house. And another star was about to prove just how powerful the distinction could become. Selena Gomez entered the beauty industry with a name millions of people already knew, but she didn't want rare beauty to feel like another celebrity product with a famous face printed on the package. Launched in 2020, Rare Beauty was designed as a real beauty brand with its own identity and message. That distinction mattered. The cosmetics industry was already crowded with celebrity-backed products, and consumers had plenty of choices. Gomez needed people to believe in the products themselves. Rare Beauty found enormous attention online, particularly with its liquid blush, and the company developed a strong identity that extended beyond Gomez's music and acting career. But the deeper story is what happened to Gomez's relationship with business. For years, she had been known primarily as an entertainer who grew up in front of the public. Rare Beauty gave her another kind of control. She wasn't simply performing for an audience anymore. She was building something that could exist independently of a movie, television show, or album. Fans saw the celebrity, investors saw a growing company, and competitors saw a serious new player in beauty. The transformation was significant. Selena Gomez had turned attention into a business asset. But if you think a celebrity business needs a massive marketing machine to become valuable, the next story may change your mind completely. George Clooney didn't set out to build one of the most famous celebrity-linked spirits brands in the world. The story of Casamigos began much more casually, with Clooney and his partners developing a tequila they enjoyed drinking themselves. There was no guarantee it would become a global phenomenon. But the brand had something powerful behind it: authenticity. Clooney wasn't simply appearing in an advertisement for someone else's tequila. He was associated with a product he had helped create. That difference became extremely valuable. Casamigos grew from a personal project into a major premium tequila brand, attracting consumers far beyond Clooney's Hollywood audience. Then came the moment that turned the story into business history. In 2017, Diageo agreed to acquire Casamigos in a transaction valued at up to $1 billion, depending on performance. Suddenly, what had started as a tequila venture connected to a movie star had become a major corporate acquisition. Clooney's story reveals one of the most important rules of celebrity wealth: an endorsement can make you money once, but ownership can create a much larger opportunity. The cameras made Clooney famous. But Casamigos showed that his name could also help build an asset. And another Hollywood star was about to take that idea even further. Ryan Reynolds understood something about advertising that many traditional marketers never quite figured out: people don't want to feel like they're being sold something. They want to be entertained. That philosophy became central to Reynolds' involvement with aviation gin. After becoming an investor and owner in the brand, Reynolds used his unmistakable humor and personality to make the company's advertising feel more like comedy than conventional promotion. His campaigns became part of the conversation, and that attention helped distinguish aviation in an extremely competitive spirits market. But the gin business wasn't the end of Reynolds' entrepreneurial story. He also became involved with Mint Mobile, another company where marketing and celebrity personality became important parts of the strategy. Eventually, T-Mobile acquired Mint Mobile, giving Reynolds another major business success. What makes his story fascinating is that he didn't simply attach his face to products. He treated his celebrity identity as a creative business tool. His humor became part of the marketing strategy itself. Instead of separating acting from business, Reynolds blurred the two together. The result was a model where entertainment became advertising and advertising became part of the entertainment. But one musician would take the concept of celebrity branding into an entirely different world, where headphones became a cultural phenomenon. Before Beats, headphones were mostly treated as pieces of technology. Dr. Dre helped turn them into something much more powerful, a symbol of music culture and personal style. Alongside Jimmy Iovine, Dre helped build Beats Electronics into a major consumer brand. The strategy was brilliant because it connected the product directly to the world Dre already understood better than almost anyone: music. Artists wore Beats. Athletes wore Beats. Celebrities wore Beats. Suddenly, headphones weren't just something you used to listen to music. They became something people wanted to be seen wearing. But behind the marketing was a serious business operation. Beats developed hardware, branding, distribution, and a powerful relationship with the entertainment industry. Then came the deal that changed everything. In 2014, Apple acquired Beats Electronics and Beats Music for approximately $3 billion in cash and stock. For Dre, the transaction represented something far larger than a successful product launch. It showed that a musician could help create a consumer technology company valuable enough to attract one of the world's most powerful technology companies. The story also carried a lesson about perception. Dre's fame created attention, but the brand's cultural influence created value. And while Dre turned sound into billions, another music superstar was about to discover that beauty could be just as powerful. Rihanna already had global fame when she entered the beauty industry, but her biggest business opportunity came from understanding something many established companies had overlooked. Millions of consumers wanted makeup products that worked for a much wider range of skin tones. In 2017, Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty in partnership with LVMH's Kendo division. The launch immediately attracted attention, but the real challenge was turning attention into repeat customers. Fenty Beauty's broad foundation range became one of the defining stories surrounding the brand, and the company quickly established itself as a serious competitor rather than a temporary celebrity project. That success changed Rihanna's financial identity. She was no longer simply a singer with endorsement deals. She was becoming an entrepreneur with significant ownership in a major consumer brand. Her business interests expanded further through ventures including Savage X Fenty. But the fascinating part of Rihanna's story is that she didn't abandon her celebrity career to become a businesswoman. She used the audience she had already built as a foundation for something larger. The music created the platform. The business gave that platform economic power. And suddenly, Rihanna's name wasn't only connected to songs and performances. It was connected to products sitting on store shelves around the world. But then came a celebrity who had spent years being underestimated by almost everyone. For years, Kim Kardashian was treated by critics as a symbol of celebrity culture rather than serious business. Then Skims changed the conversation. Founded in 2019 with partners including Jens Greed, Skims entered the shapewear market and eventually expanded into underwear, clothing, and other categories. The company wasn't built simply around Kardashian's name. It focused heavily on product design, fit, branding, and direct relationships with consumers. That distinction became increasingly important as the company grew. Skims attracted major partnerships and investors, eventually reaching a valuation in the billions. By 2025, a funding round valued the company at approximately $5 billion. That number made it difficult to dismiss Skims as ordinary celebrity merchandise. But the more interesting part of the story is how Kardashian used attention. She already understood how social media, television, fashion, and personal branding could influence consumers. Skims turned that understanding into a commercial system. Kardashian could create demand almost instantly, but the company still had to deliver products customers wanted. That is where many celebrity businesses fail. Attention creates the first sale. Quality creates the second. Skims managed to turn Kardashian's enormous audience into a broader consumer brand. And just when it seemed celebrity wealth was becoming all about new companies, one superstar took a completely different route. She focused on owning more of the work she had already created. Taylor Swift's business story begins with something she has been doing since she was a teenager: writing songs. But over time, those songs became more than creative expression. They became valuable intellectual property. Swift's career has repeatedly raised questions about ownership, control, and who benefits financially from an artist's work. Her dispute over the ownership of her early master recordings became one of the most discussed music business stories of the modern era. Swift responded by re-recording several of her albums, creating new versions she could control more directly. The strategy was extraordinary because it turned a dispute over ownership into a new business opportunity. Then came the Eras Tour, which became a cultural and financial phenomenon on a scale rarely seen in modern entertainment. Touring, merchandise, royalties, and the value of her music catalog all contributed to a fortune measured in the billions. But Swift's real lesson isn't simply that a famous singer can become extremely wealthy. It's that intellectual property can be an enormous asset when an artist understands its value. She didn't need to create a tequila company or a makeup line to build an empire. Her empire was already inside the songs she had written. The question was whether she could gain greater control over them. And another music legend had reached an even broader conclusion: the real money wasn't just in making music. It was in owning businesses. Jay-Z's transformation from rapper to business mogul is one of the clearest examples of diversification in modern celebrity culture. His music career made him famous, but he gradually built interests that extended far beyond recording and performing. He co-founded Roc Nation, became involved in entertainment and sports management, invested in technology and other businesses, and developed major interests in premium spirits. One of the most notable chapters involved his champagne brand, Armand de Brignac, and his long-running involvement with Das Cognac. These ventures helped turn his public image into a broader commercial portfolio. But Jay-Z's story wasn't built overnight. The important part was the willingness to think beyond the next album. Every new business created another potential source of income, another asset, and another relationship. His wealth eventually became so large that music represented only one part of the overall picture. That is the real difference between earning money and building wealth. Income pays you for what you do. Ownership can continue creating value even when you're not working. Jay-Z understood that distinction early enough to act on it. He became a businessman without abandoning the identity that made him famous. And at the top of this list is another global superstar who turned decades of entertainment success into something much bigger than a career on stage. Beyoncé's business empire was built on something that cannot be easily copied: decades of carefully controlled influence. From her early years with Destiny's Child to her solo career, she developed a global audience that followed not only her music, but her identity, style, and creative vision. That audience became one of her most valuable business assets. Beyoncé expanded into fashion, entertainment, production, partnerships, and other ventures, while maintaining an unusually high level of control over how her work was presented. Her performances became events. Her releases became cultural moments. Her brand became inseparable from the idea of excellence and exclusivity. But behind the glamour was something much more strategic. Beyoncé understood that attention is temporary unless you know how to control it. She built a career where fewer appearances could create greater anticipation. Her business power came from scarcity, ownership, and an audience willing to follow her across different ventures. By the 2020s, her wealth had reached the billionaire level according to major financial estimates. Yet the most important part of her story isn't the number attached to her fortune. It's how she built it. She didn't rely on one paycheck. She created multiple streams of value around music, performance, intellectual property, partnerships, and business. And that brings us to the real secret connecting every celebrity on this list.